Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi there, Pat. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Wonderful. Thanks for making time today. I know you have a crazy schedule.
Oh, no, I got all the time in the world for you.
Very sweet, very sweet. Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Okay.
So I understand that you've decided to go plant-based.
Yeah, so I would definitely say plant-based. I do eat a little bit of animal products like fish and shrimp and things like that, but I do stay away from, the typical, the chicken and all that other stuff like the red meat. I kind of eliminate that from my diet.
And how long have you been doing this?
I would say hardcore probably for about a
Wow,
year now. So
that's amazing because a lot of people think like, oh, chicken, that's the way to go, but you decided to get rid of that as well.
yeah, I wouldn't say that I never eat it, but I would probably say if I do eat it, it'd be maybe once a week. But I try not to eat it if I don't have to.
And what made you decide to make this switch in your diet?
So I had a couple personal things like family. My dad got diagnosed with colon cancer,
Yeah.
so I've been involved with all that stuff since he's been battling that. Um, and I just talked to a lot of different people on the holistic benefits of going plant based and the benefits of being an athlete and all that good stuff that it does for your body and reduces inflammation and things like that. So that's pretty much why I switched.
I'm so sorry to hear about your father. I also am aware of many stories like this. And again, I'm sorry to hear that. For you as an athlete, so many people think, well, wait a minute, that's not possible. You're not going to get enough protein. And I wonder how this has worked out for you. How do you feel?
Yeah, so anytime I guess you eliminate the chicken and the beef, the easy stuff to get the protein, you have to work extra hard to, I guess, make up for that. Get your beans, your legumes, your different things that we have readily available for us at the facility, which is really awesome. Our nutritionist does a great job with that. So she has different things that you can have instead if you don't want to eat the meat. So she's really good with that.
Wonderful. So they make it easy on you. But maybe just to clarify for the people at home who don't have a nutritionist cooking for them, give me an
Yeah.
example of what you eat in a day.
So the typical thing, like I normally do, I start out with flaky greens, the kale, the spinach. We have all that available to us, and we have a great salad bar. She'll have like a quinoa salad, or she'll have chickpea salad with avocado in it. Um, Whole grain rice, not the instant rice, which is great. And
Yeah,
then she has the fruit, different things like that. And we do have vegan protein, which I do consume a lot of to try to help eliminate the protein, the typical chicken and steak that we do have here.
so what kind of vegan proteins do you have?
We do the Vega One here.
Uh-huh. Great. Awesome. Well, so a lot of people always ask, an athlete, you're working out so much and you're consuming, you're burning up so many calories. And so you need to consume more. Are you ever hungry?
Yeah, I would say I eat about six small meals a day. I do eat a lot. I have a high metabolism, so I do have to eat to keep on the weight that I want to keep on. But I mean, it does shed some weight off of you relatively quickly. At least I think so.
It's pretty
So it is
awesome.
hard.
So for the athletes, it's a little bit harder because they don't want to lose weight. But you feel like you've got enough options, you're always eating, you're never hungry, or are you hungry? Like how much do you feel like, okay, this is a job now because I've switched?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a job and entirely just being a professional athlete in that sense. But I would say the greens and things like that, like the beans and the chickpeas and the quinoa, I think it does burn quicker in a sense where you do have to eat more. Like if you eat a heavy steak, obviously you feel full for hours, but I think you feel awful in the next coming day. That's why I don't eat that stuff anymore, just because how I felt, previously when you eat a big steak like the night before a game or things like that. So that's mainly the reason. One is obviously my family history and just the way it made me feel. So
Yes, I understand this. So I wanted to ask you, if you're eating a lot of meat, you're saying, oh gosh, the next day I don't feel great. And how do you feel eating the other stuff, the leafy greens? It's interesting you say you start your day with leafy greens. How awesome is that? But the chickpeas and legumes, how do you feel eating all that stuff?
I feel good. It doesn't bother me. I mean, some people probably don't eat a whole lot of like beans and things like that. Probably bloats them a little bit from what I've heard about the guys in the locker room. But I like it. It makes me feel better. I don't feel like I have as much inflammation in the body. Not as sore, recover quicker, things like that. So it's working for me right now. So I think I'm going to stick with it. I do a lot of juicing as well. We have a fresh pressed juice place here. So they make us greens and things like that, whatever we need. So it's easy here.
How awesome is that? Well, so let me ask you, what has this done for your performance? Do you notice any difference?
I think I have, yeah. I feel like on game day I'm ready to go versus trying to play catch up with the week prior. I don't really get hit like the guys do being a punter, but just that repetitive motion over and over again, you don't feel sore and stiff as much. So I think it's definitely helped me quite a bit.
That's awesome. I've interviewed so many Olympic athletes who are plant-based and world champions in weightlifting or in volleyball or in cycling, and they all say the same thing, that as an athlete you're so hard on your body and that their recovery time is much faster with plant-based foods.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you're not putting the inflammation in your body to, double up that lactic acid and the stuff putting in your body to, I guess, prohibit you from being your best on Sundays or your game day, right? So it only makes sense to put the right things in there.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense to me too. So, what do your teammates say?
Some of the guys, obviously, they have some wise cracks to say, but, at the end of the day, it's all about you and your body. So I kind of explain to them why I do it. I think more so if it was more readily available and they were exposed to it and they had a reason to switch, I think they would. But I think a lot of guys are just stuck in, you know, I don't know, the dairy and things like that. Like I cut dairy out completely out of my diet as well, so I don't try to eat the typical stuff that everyone else eats, I guess you should say. You could say.
Yes, I've heard of so many athletes cutting out dairy that it just causes so many problems for them. What does your nutrition coach say?
Uh, she's open to, there's a lot of different people that have different philosophies and ideas. Like some guys are paleo and other guys just try to eat as healthy as they possibly can. But I don't think a whole lot of people have switched to being vegan because it's extremely hard. But I think a lot of guys are more mindful because of the resources we do have here. So that's always good.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, so as you say, you're a punter. What kind of workout do you do as a punter? It's, as I understand it, and I am no sports aficionado for the record, but as I understand it, a punter kind of works out a little bit separately from the team, and I'm wondering what your workout looks like.
Yeah, so typically we do go off a card we have scripted by our strength coach, but it's more like cross training, things like that. We don't do like the heavy bulk lifting. It's more movement specific. A lot of things on single leg and more things that are applicable, like hinges and hamstring curls, obviously for us. But yeah, it's not necessarily the typical bench press, squat. It's more functional, I should say. If that makes any sense. More functional lifting applicable to us versus the heavy bearing things that other guys do.
Sure, so to keep you agile, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I'm wondering if there's any other reasons, perhaps not initially, but now that you're more into it, are there any other reasons that make you say, okay, I'm going to stay plant-based, like either the environment or animals, or as you say, you have a personal history, but I'm wondering if there's other tangential things that keep your interest in being plant-based.
I think the more knowledge you have, obviously there's a lot of documentaries surfacing now, right, with just more exposure to being plant-based. Like what the health, that's probably like the most common thing people talk about. But people probably think it's way out in left field, you know what I mean? It's over the top,
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the research does promote that eating more plant-based will help with, cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular health, things like that. So I think as you get older and the game is done for you and you continue to eat plant-based, you shouldn't really have any health problems, I should say. It would probably help you. A lot of guys, I think, would switch if they were just solely not worried about their weight. And they have more, I guess, time on their hands to just, I guess, get the right things in their body versus like the quick, chicken and the beef protein and things like that that are easier to consume, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious, is this something that you follow in season because you're an athlete and you want to feel better and you want to recover better, or is this something you do all year round?
So I implement it year round. I try to do more of the vegan in off season versus off season versus in season. Sometimes like I do have like the salmon or I have the free range chicken and things like that. But I do stay away from the red meat if I can. But yeah, that's mostly like if you're in a social setting and that's all they have, and we have catered meals like when we eat at the hotel. So sometimes you don't really have a whole lot of options, and that's when I do eat it. But for the most part, I do try to stick to the plant-based diet.
So when you have teammates that come up to you, I'm guessing this has happened, although you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you have teammates that come up to you and say, dude, how do I start doing this? What are your suggestions for them?
I would recommend just starting small. Just have the green juice maybe in the morning and try to eliminate maybe one of the meals out of the day that you eat animal products, and just try to eliminate that and switch it up with the legumes and the quinoa and the barley and the things like that can give you the protein that you do need. Substitute it with a protein drink versus the 2 8-ounce chicken breasts that you're going to eat. So maybe just try to make one meal out of the day that you do consume animal products and just switching it like that. Slow and gradually build your way out.
I completely agree. I think a lot of people think it's all or nothing, and that if you're not willing to go like freaky over the edge, then why bother? And actually just taking a middle ground, and a lot of people do meatless Mondays, that kind of thing, but just kind of, starting your day maybe with no animal fat. So maybe just get your breakfast down first, or maybe it's just your dinner, or, but starting slow, and it doesn't really matter if you go off a little bit. You get back on, and particularly when you go back and forth, I find that people can really compare how they feel on meat and how they feel off meat, and then usually the decision is clearly made.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be easy for them to tell if they do maybe go like a week or 2 weeks without eating it, and it'll be more evident. But I guess if you consume it on a regular basis, you can't really feel the effects, I should say.
Yes. Yeah,
so it does take a little bit of time, I would think.
Yeah, if you do meat every day, you start realizing that you don't feel that great, and you just kind of accept it as the norm. And then when you get it out of your system, you can feel it pretty readily, and I think that kind of sells people right there. So I have a couple quick questions for you. Do you cook?
I do cook, yeah. Most of the meals I cook are at home, or I don't really eat out a whole lot, so I try to limit that.
Okay, so what's your favorite go-to meal? You're at home, you don't have a lot of time, it's the thing you make all the time, you know it's going to be good. What's your go-to meal you make at home?
I've been really into like falafels. I've been making those at home, and making that with maybe like a pesto pasta, gluten-free, rice pasta that I usually eat with a salad. I'm pretty simple. I try to make anything as quick as possible. I don't really spend hours in the kitchen like prepping. Sometimes we're limited on time, but I've been into the falafel game. I like those quite a bit.
That's awesome. And what's your favorite snack?
Snack, I do drink a lot of protein drinks, the vegan protein drinks. I do eat a lot of nut butters with like a banana. That's usually a quick go-to before practice or after practice, to trying to get some calories back in your body. So that, avocado toast, things like that.
Awesome. What are we always going to find in your fridge?
That's a great question. I would say a lot of fruit. I have spinach always in my fridge. I do have a lot of like almond milk, things like that, where I can blend and make protein shakes with. It's kind of boring, but it's the necessities I guess you need.
Yeah, just to have easily at your disposal. So my last two questions for you. This one might require a little bit of thinking, or maybe you know it right off the top of your head. What do you wish that you knew 10 years ago that you know now?
I would probably just say the information that we have with animal products and basically the negative effects it has. Because sometimes I think you just get so wrapped up in, the meats and the cheeses and the things that basically you grew up on. And I guess like our parents and things like that, they didn't know any better, or the negative effects it does have on certain people. I think certain people can't tolerate it and it affects other people differently. But I think just having the choice of, I can eat gluten free, or I can have a vegan meal without, basically making yourself look like a fool if you go out to eat with a bunch of people. Just having that choice and just having the information available to you.
Totally right. Yeah, I completely agree. Because when you know better, you do better. Okay, my final question. Nobody knows the future, of course, but I'm wondering, you're on a 1-year contract now with the Bears. Do you think you'll be staying?
Yeah, I hope so. I got drafted here, and I love it here. It's a family-run organization, and the team's going in great places right now. So I would only hope that I would, get extended and be here for a long time. So
Well,
looking forward to that.
that's awesome. Thanks so much for speaking with me. I super appreciate your time, and of course, go Bears.
Appreciate it, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.